Have you tried going grocery shopping lately? Because it is a show. With these continuing to rise grocery prices, meal planning has become less of an option and more so a requirement. Because when you meal plan, when you plan things out, when you know ahead of time what you're going to be eating, or at least a basic idea of what you want to be eating, you can buy in bulk, which saves you over time, and you'll spend less time on impulse purchases, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm still working on. I'm going to walk you through how I meal plan, how I grocery plan, because tomorrow is our big monthly grocery shop. I need to prep now, because if I don't, I'm just gonna end up with a bunch of random things in my cart at Costco. And we all know you could walk in to buy peanut butter and leave spending $500. But before we dive into the actual steps of meal planning, I wanna share with you a couple of tips that have really helped me before I even sit down to process. Number one being, get the dishes done. I have a really bad habit of letting the dishes pile up. I work a lot, you know, I'm a single mom, things get crazy. But then by the time I get home from the grocery store, I have nowhere to put anything because all the dishes are all over the counter, they're all over the table, they're everywhere. And I can't meal prep because all of my dishes are dirty. So then by the time I get my dishes done, I have no energy left to meal prep, and then half the food ends up going bad. Anyone relate? Can anyone relate to that, or is it just me? I would love to know. Let me know if I'm alone. The second thing that I would really recommend is to grab some, if I can grab them, meal prep containers. I got a bunch of these from Costco. They're really cheap. I buy them in bulk. They're supposed to be like disposable ones, but I wash them and I keep them so we can use them over and over again. And they come with, put the lid on it. They come with lids, and these are really nice because they're stackable. So like I can stack these in the freezer. So like if I make a bunch of chili, I can load this up, stack it in the freezer. These easily fit in like a lunchbox. These are just easy. They're easy to fill, easy to use. Technically, are they microwavable? It says that they are microwave and dishwasher safe, but I don't like putting plastic, especially thin plastic, in the microwave, so I can't speak to that aspect of it. But what I do is I will prep this, and then if I need something that goes in the microwave, I will just put it in the glass bowl, and then I'll put it in the microwave, or I'll just warm it up on the stove. The final thing is to go through and take stock of what you already have. How many times you've been like, oh my gosh, I really need this, so then you buy extras of this one thing, and then you end up not getting the thing that you thought you had a lot of? Yeah. Happens to me all the time. So before you even sit down to plan your meals, to plan your groceries, get really clear on what you got. And not just groceries either. Also include things like spices. So I've got like a big 3 that I need to have on hand all the time when it comes to spices. So I've got my garlic, I've got sea salt. I actually bought sea salt in bulk from Costco, and this was an empty garlic container that I put it in. And where's the other one? Red pepper flakes. These are crucial because I got my garlic, I got my salt, I got my spice. The other thing I like to have on hand is taco seasoning. So I almost always have this. This is getting a little low. I don't know if I'm gonna make it a whole nother month, so I need to get another one. But just knowing ahead of time what you have is going to prevent you from buying extra things that you don't need. As you can see, we are running pretty lean right now, so tomorrow's gonna be a pretty big shop. But like, I am almost out of flour. Let's see, about half a bag of almond flour, half a bag of buckwheat, and I'm really low on baking powder. Little things like that, like baking powder and flour, you don't always think of every time you go grocery shopping. But what happens is that if you don't think of it, you come home and you're like, oh my gosh, I wanna make this thing, or you know, the kids have been really good, I wanna sit down and wanna make some cookies, and you don't have it on hand, it's really frustrating. So knowing your staples, and like I shared how I need to have salt and garlic and pepper flakes and taco seasoning, know what your big 3, 4, 10 are. Keep an essentials list and pay attention to when it gets low, because you always want that to be part of your big shop, or even your midweek shop, or whatever it is that you do. Now that we've got all those tips out of the way, I'm gonna head back to my office and get ready to actually sit down, do my meal plan and my grocery list. So let's do it. All right, so step 1 of meal planning is thinking through what meals you want to make. So you have 2 different options. You can think of specific meals, or you can think of pieces of meals. What I mean by pieces of meals is some people really do not like to meal plan because they don't like being stuck to such a rigid plan. And hey, I get it. Honest to God, I will come up with the most perfect meal plan, and then I decide that on the night I'm supposed to make enchilada soup that I don't want enchilada soup. I want nachos, or I want pancakes, or I want stir fry. right? Like I'll change my mind. I think of meals that I eat frequently, and I think of pieces of meals that I want to have on hand. So what I like to do is get a package of the Beyond Beef that Beyond Meat has, and I love it. And so I will get a package of that, cut it into two halves, and then I will do half of it with taco seasoning and make it for like taco meat, and then I'll do the other half with like Italian seasoning and garlic for maybe like pasta or something I just want to throw in like with chili or whatnot, right? Because having those two pieces on hand give me the freedom. So that way if I have taco meat sitting there and I'm really feeling nachos, I can pull myself some vegan cheese, I can grab chips, and I can make myself nachos with taco meat and make it more of a meal than just chips and cheese. Having the pieces on hand make it possible for those more impulse meals. What I do is I do a mix of both. I will decide on specific meals that I want to get ingredients for, and I will also do pieces of meals. So meals that we have a lot that are really easy are chili, enchilada soup, which is kind of like chili, just with the enchilada twist. My son also really likes peanut butter and chili sandwiches. We get the Beyond Burgers. And how many times you shop a month is gonna tell you how deep you go into this. If you go shopping every week, then it's gonna be a lot easier for you to make this plan. If you go shopping every month, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult because you're gonna want to plan out more, you have to buy more and plan for that. So we're doing our monthly big shop tomorrow, and then what I do throughout the rest of the month, I grab extra little things that we need to stock up on, like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, things like that. And that usually happens about once or twice a week after the initial week has gone by, where we go through and we prep everything. So just thinking through how far in advance you want to prep, and this is going to depend on how often you go grocery shopping. This is also going to depend on your budget. I am doing a Costco shop tomorrow, and sometimes you don't have enough money to go to Costco. Buying in bulk is great when you have the money for it, and I fully acknowledge that. There are times where buying in bulk is cheaper overall, but I couldn't afford to go to Costco and buy the $10 thing of beans. I literally had $1 in my account, so I had to go and grab a can. It's more expensive per ounce per bean, but it's what I had on hand. So your plan needs to reflect your budget and what you're able to afford right now. Because going to the store and not being able to afford something or getting your card declined like that sucks. And unfortunately, it's a reality for a lot of people right now. So I just want to make sure that that's addressed, because I don't think anybody talks about that enough. Once you have your meal list planned out, or your pieces of meal list, you need to write down what you need to get and how much. Now, this can be really difficult if you have a lot of kids. I've got like my best friend, she has got 4 kids and 1 on the way. And so it's really difficult to sit down and like figure out pound for pound how much you need. For me, it's me and my son. And so I have a pretty good idea on how long a thing of oatmeal will last, or how many containers of mushrooms I need to get to last me, for a couple weeks till I can go grocery shopping again to go pick it up. That's for us. So you need to get to know you and your family. If you have not taken stock before and paid attention, you need to leave room for messing it up and getting it wrong. Buying too much of something when it's non-perishable, I think there's nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes I've overbought coconut oil or oatmeal, or back when I could eat rice, I would buy a lot of rice and I realized I already had some. That's fine because it bled over into the next month. Overbuying things that are perishable, like buying more produce than you can go through, or buying more milk than you can have before it goes bad, that's a little bit more tricky. So you want to go through and at least get a rough idea of how much your family will eat. And if you don't know, lean to overbuying on the non-perishables and maybe even underbuying on the perishable foods, because you can always go back and get more. That's annoying. I get it. Trust me. I only have 1 kid, and taking him grocery shopping is a big thing. So I can't even imagine having multiple kids. You have to remember that the first month is going to be your most difficult month. So every month after that is going to be so much easier because you're going to have more of an idea, and you're going to get better and better every month that you sit down and do this. So decide how you want to do it. Do you want to sit down and actually go through and price out how many packages of oatmeal you need to get, or how many heads of broccoli you need to get? Or do you want to more so wing it? That is totally up to you. If it's just you and 1 or 2 kids, it might be a lot easier. If it's you and you have a lot of kids, or you're also shopping for a family member that you're caring for, things like that, sitting down and making more of a strict plan could really, really help you. Something else to keep in mind is how much space you have. My son and I, while we have a pretty decent shelf that we use for pantry items, we only have a mini fridge. Our other one before we moved went bad, and right now it's just not in the budget to get a bigger one, so we have to stick with our mini fridge. This makes things a little bit tricky because we love things like getting the single serve guacamole and hummus, lots of produce from Costco. And while it's great to have those things on hand, we run out of room in the fridge really quick. Here is a way around this. One, think about that ahead of time. Think about what you want to get and how much of it and what your plan of action is going to be after you get home. The second thing is that you can plan to meal prep in the same day. This is really difficult for me sometimes because grocery shopping is exhausting. It's an all-day endeavor. For us, Costco is almost an hour away, plus it's the shopping bit. And then we have to come back home and then go to another store to grab the rest of the little things that we couldn't get at Costco. So it's usually something that takes a lot of social energy, it takes a lot of physical energy, and it takes a lot of time. And so the idea of sitting down and meal prepping when I get home is not fun. But I think about it this way. Do I want to come home and sit down and meal prep even when I'm tired? Or do I want to buy less food, where I have to go to Costco twice a month and spend more gas? Or do I want to let food go bad? I don't really like any of the options, but the one where I'm actually doing it tired is the one that comes with the least amount of risk. It all depends on you and your family, but just keep in mind how much space you have because it's so frustrating to have more food than you know what to do with. And I know that that's definitely a first world problem, but it is something to keep in mind for those of us with small spaces. Now you want to make a master grocery list. Put this on a list in your phone or on a notebook, whatever you need to do to not forget it. Once you've put down your master list, look at how much you need to get of each thing. Do you want to get 1 package of oatmeal or 2? Do you want to get 2 bags of peppers or 1? Or do you need to get 3? Do you have any big events coming up where you're gonna be hosting family or making dinner for a friend? Plan for that now. Look at your list and make sure that you get enough. Once you have all of that done, you have your Google Doc on your phone or you have your notebook in your purse or it's sitting by the door so you won't forget it. Now it's just planning for the meal prep. Planning for what you're gonna do with the groceries after you actually get them home. And while this seems pretty like duh, it's worth thinking about. Like I mentioned before, I don't like doing meal prep right after I get home from grocery shopping, but it's a necessary evil. I love meal prep, but when I spend all day grocery shopping, coming home and standing on my feet even more does not sound fun. But I also know that I gotta do it. That may not be the deal for you. You may plan to do it the next day, and that's fine, as long as you actually do it the next day. If you're anything like me and you forget about the next day, or you leave food on the counter and it goes bad because you don't have room, you may want to just plan to do it the same day. Knowing this ahead of time is going to help you as you strategically plan your grocery trip, especially if you're doing multiple trips. Are you going to go to one store, come home and unload, and go to the next? Because again, you want to think about your plan. You don't want to get a bunch of stuff from Costco in the freezer section, drive an hour home, and then go spend another hour at Fred Meyer or at the local hippie store, right? You want to move as quickly as you possibly can. So knowing ahead of time, what are you gonna do after you're done grocery shopping? What are you gonna do after you get home? How are you going to nourish yourself throughout the day? Are you gonna eat before you leave, or are you gonna get something at Costco while you're there? These things, while they seem trivial and they seem obvious, are going to save you a lot of frustration and money, because I don't know about y'all, but those impulse purchases are real. The only upside to having so many food allergies and food sensitivities is that very few things that are just quick to eat I can actually have. Costco doesn't have anything in their like hot food section that my son and I can eat, so that's never a temptation for us. But if it's a temptation for you, plan ahead. Plan it into your budget to have lunch while you're there, or plan to eat before you go so that way you're not hungry. Or plan to eat before you go so you don't end up buying the extra pack of cookies that we both know you really don't need, that you end up regretting not buying later on when you're tired and hungry and your kids are driving you crazy. So I threw a whole lot of information at you all at once, so let's do a really quick recap. First, prep for the plan. Second, look through what you have. Once you've done that, write down what meals you want to have or what pieces of meals you want to have. Are you planning for the month? Are you planning for the week? Are you planning for 2 weeks? Then, what do you need for those pieces of meals? What do you need for those full meals? Write down the ingredients. Take that ingredients list and make it into a master grocery list. Then, what's your plan of attack? How are you going to handle the grocery shopping? Are you going to one store? Or are you going to multiple stores? Are you going to go to one store, come home, and then go to the next? What is the plan? Getting this planned out, getting clear is going to take away so much stress and anxiety. All right, so I know that was a whole lot of information, but I really hope that this benefited you. Sitting down and meal planning is really, really helpful, especially with how expensive groceries are. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because tomorrow you're going to get a giant grocery haul, because I'm going to Costco. We're gonna do the big shop. We're gonna go to Costco, we're gonna go to the hippie store. Trust me, you don't wanna miss it. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and I will see you guys tomorrow.